What are the 5 mistakes you could make as a father in family court that will destroy your chances of getting more time with your children or even getting to see your children at all? Now, this is a very important, very important set of mistakes. A lot of fathers, unfortunately, walk into the family court situation without knowing how it actually plays out. They don't understand the traps. They don't understand the dangers that they are walking into. And many get so disoriented that even after the experience, they still don't know what hit them. I'm sure you've heard horror stories of how badly fathers are treated in family courts. And if you are in family court yourself, you know that it's a very painful process, it's very horrible, and it feels unfair a lot of the time. So in order to increase your chances of getting to see your children, of getting to spend more time with your children, you have to avoid these mistakes. And I'm going to share those mistakes with you. My name is John Paul from bravefathers.com. You can find me on the link below. And so let's just jump right in and see what these mistakes are. So the first mistake, which creates the context for everything else, is expecting a fair process. Now, we have all watched legal thrillers. We've watched movies where there's a lawyer who fights for a cause, and then we have a judge who presides over the hearing and ultimately makes a decision, right? And when we watch these movies, it looks as if the judge is there, neutral, listening to this side, listening to the other side, and then makes a decision based on the case presented to him. On one hand, you could argue that that's close to the picture. But on the flip side, there are many things working against you that the judge has to actually consider or considers without telling you. And in fact, some would deny that they consider these things. And I'll tell you what these things are. For example, generally in society, men are seen as abusers and women are seen as victims. Men are seen as oppressors and women are the vulnerable ones who have to be protected from men, right? That is the general view in the society. It's very common these days, and you see it in TV, you see it on YouTube, you see it on any social media platform, and you've probably had conversations with your friends about this, and it's a common sentiment, right? Many guys think in terms of happy wife, happy life. And in general, people try to please women and to be nice to women in everyday life. Guess what? When you get to court, it's the same thing. It does not change there. The woman automatically has an advantage, even though, again, everybody denies it. But when you experience it, you see it. And the easiest way to see that this is true is when you look at the criminal side of things. You will see that when a woman commits a crime, she doesn't get a sentence as big or as long or as difficult as what a man gets for the same kind of crime. Now, by the way, just to be clear, none of what I say today is legal advice, and it applies to you wherever you live in the world, right? So these are things that, as I've worked with fathers, I've seen that are common to various jurisdictions, various states, various countries, various areas. So you will see a variation of everything I'm saying today wherever you are in the world, right? So none of it is legal advice. Make sure you consult with a qualified legal professional to help you with your case. So let's continue. So if there are allegations, which will come to that in a moment, for example, of domestic abuse, the court will have to take them seriously. But very often, when a man raises similar allegations, they are not taken as seriously, which is another problem. But overall, a lot of people believe that the mother has to be in the children's life, but the father is optional. And you see it all the time. And in fact, I know it's a TV show, but I watched one episode of Judge Judy where she actually said this out loud. She said, a lot of people see fathers as second-class parents when they are not. So she said she would be just in her decisions, unlike many judges who actually do believe that fathers are second-class parents. And in some cases, people actually believe the father is not necessary, right? We hear all this strong, independent woman thing. So the man is really, really undesirable from their perspective. So if you go into court expecting it to be fair, you will be sadly mistaken. Not only that, you can't go in saying, oh, it's not fair because I'm a man. They'll think you're crazy, or they'll make you look like you're crazy, even if they are being unfair. So what does that mean? What does that mean for you in practice? What it means in practice is that you have to prepare above and beyond what you think you have to prepare. You have to understand the court situation. In fact, sometimes better than everybody else in the room, including the judge. Yes, there are times where there are certain procedures, certain things that you have to prepare ahead if they are specific to your case and present that law to the judge. When you look at the procedural books, they are this thick, right? When you combine it together, there's lots and lots of laws. So the judge is not going to be thinking through every single law and think what applies to your case. You have to do that. And in fact, your lawyer is not even going to do that. Why? Because you're not paying him enough. You may think you're paying a lot of money, you're spending tens of thousands of dollars. No, that's not how it works in reality. I will come to that in a moment. But the most important thing is for you not to make the mistake of thinking it's going to be fair. So whatever proof you have, whatever evidence you have, whatever you think you have is not enough. It's not enough. So we'll talk more about how to mitigate that mistake. But if you're aware that it's not fair and you understand that context of everything else that happens, it will help you proceed with the next step. Okay? So let's look at the second mistake. So the second mistake, which is popularly known also as the silver bullet mistake, is that fathers underestimate the effect of false allegations on their case. Now, depending on the jurisdiction in which you live, there's going to be a different kind of law regarding domestic abuse. But in all cases, in general, females are seen as a protected class, period, right? So whether there's an allegation or not, she's already seen as somebody who has to be protected. So now, if you are faced with an allegation from her, the court must address those allegations. The court does not have a choice. Sometimes the court may dismiss them on the face value. Yes, it's possible. Rare, but it's possible. But even in those cases, the court has to justify. The judge has to state why those allegations are being dismissed and why they are not seen to be affecting the children. Now, that is very rare. In most cases, they have to deal with them. And that's part of the reason why fathers don't get to see their children for a long time, because the court first has to determine if those allegations hold any truth to them, what really happened, and whether or not those allegations affect the children, and how the children are affected, and how the mother is affected, you see. So, for example, in the UK, it is believed that, and it is in the law, that if a parent is abused, that affects the parent's ability to take care of the children. Therefore, the children are also victims of that abuse. So, one way or the other, those allegations are taken seriously. In certain places, I believe in Texas, for example, if there are proven allegations of domestic abuse, you are I think it's impossible for the court to give you 50-50. Look it up yourself, but you will probably not even get 50-50 custody when there is that hanging over you, when there is domestic violence proven against you. And a lot of fathers think that, oh, the allegations are ridiculous, they are not true, it's impossible for the judge to believe this nonsense, and so on and so forth. But that is a mistake, which is why we are talking about it. I have seen fathers go into court who are innocent of things, but because they were unprepared, because they underestimated the false allegations, they walk out of the court with findings against them that now make it hard for them to have a relationship with their children. And because they didn't know that those allegations have so much impact, they lost the case. Now, you see, the false allegations are coming. More likely than not, the false allegations are coming. Why? Because that's the ultimate weapon for a woman to use in family court, right? So, of course, there are times where the allegations are not false, they're actually true. So I'm not talking about that. There are many, many, many cases where the mother lies. She just lies, outright lies, in order to make it difficult for the father to see the children. And even if she lies, it's possible that the judge will believe her. And if the judge believes her, you are screwed. So you have to take this seriously. A lot of fathers get blindsided by this. And a lot of times you can actually see the false allegations coming. Just think about some of the things she might have said in an argument and so on and so forth. That tells you what kind of allegations she might make against you. There are times where fathers try to reconcile and make the foolish mistake of being alone with the woman. But that is just a chance for her to create more lies, more allegations. Once you know you are going to court, just assume for your own safety that the false allegations are coming. So don't spend any time alone with this woman. Don't have any arguments. There should be no discussions outside of what is pertaining to the children. And the moment you realize it's going off track, it's becoming an argument or a fight, excuse me, you must end that interaction and come back to it later. Don't sleep with your children's mother whilst you're in court. Don't kiss her, don't give her hugs, don't hold her. Don't go on dinners. None of that stuff. And it's hard for a lot of fathers to do. I know this because I talk to fathers all the time. It's very difficult, but that's how you get trapped. Because she may not have any evidence, but then she'll invite you over, or you go over, or she comes over, whatever. An argument starts. Next thing you know, police is called, and that's it. You are screwed. You are screwed. You may get a restraining order. That's part of the tactic, usually, or a variation of a restraining order. And that is evidence to prove that you're an abusive person. When you go on women's forums, right, or on Reddit, you find various discussions about how to do this. In fact, a lot of women that are single, that are not even planning to marry anytime soon, already know, thanks to social media and women's channels, that it's an option to make allegations to make sure the man can't access his children. And they don't feel bad about lying. They don't feel guilty about it. They don't really care. They'll do whatever it takes. And sometimes a thing that you may not think is an allegation will be made into an allegation, right? A thing that you may think is innocent or is just an argument, right? So let's say you have text messages where you argue back and forth, or recordings of arguments. You may think it's evidence that proves your innocence. No, that could be evidence of your abusive behavior. And we will talk about this, but one of the reasons is women have more support and more preparation. So she could go to a psychologist or psychiatrist or some kind of counselor, say she's in trauma and so on and so forth because of what you have done to her. So then it may be decided that her reaction that seems abusive was really a defense against all the abuse you have done to her in the past. So it's really not abuse on her part, but it's just her protecting herself. And you're still the bad guy. I said it in the first mistake. Don't expect a fair process, right? Don't think you are different. Don't think you are special, because in the court's eye, you are not. You are not. A lot of people think that it's only the bad fathers that get a bad deal in court. That's not true. You might have been the nicest guy, taking care of everything, or, wouldn't hurt a fly, always did everything right, took good care of your kids, was always there. You were there for her in her hard times. You even tolerated her bad moods and so on and so forth. It does not matter. It does not matter. And for many guys, it's a shock because they are so used to the image of being seen as good guys, right? Everybody says, oh, you're such a nice guy. You're such a great guy. She's so lucky to have you, right? And then you end up in court and you're made to be seen as an abuser. And that alone is enough to make your mind go crazy, and then you can't function in the courtroom. And her lawyer knows this. So she will use that to show how unstable you are. So when you get false allegations, you have to take them very seriously. If they haven't come yet, make a list of what you suspect she might say. Literally do that. Look at what other fathers have been accused of and be aware of those things, and think already of how you're going to provide evidence against that. Don't wait till later to do that, because that is the mistake. It takes a lot of time and a lot of energy and a lot of effort to counter the process, because remember the first mistake. You can't expect this to be a fair process, right? And she is getting all the help she can get. She's preparing for it. So there's a lot more we could talk about false allegations, and we will over time. But right now, let's move to the next mistake, which is deadly, which could end your case for you. And what am I talking about? I'm talking about smearing your ex in court. What do I mean? Let's say your ex cheated on you. Let's say your ex had 3 different lovers at different times, right? And you found out that you forgive her. Let's say she loves to drink, or maybe get high with her friends. Let's say she goes on girls' trips, whatever. The court does not care about any of that. When it comes to dealing with your children, all the court is concerned with is the children's welfare. How do things affect the children? If she has a boyfriend on the side, that does not affect the children as far as the court is concerned. If she has an OnlyFans account, that does not concern the court. If she's a stripper as her side hustle, that does not affect the children. Now, if she strips during the time she's supposed to take care of the children and leaves them alone, or with shady neighbors or something like that, that's different. That's the kind of information you want to present, but only because the children are directly affected. I have to break this to you, and I hate to be the messenger of bad news, but the court does not care how much she hurt you. The court does not care how much she betrayed you, or her vows, or the marriage to you, or if you're not married, the promises she made. The court does not care. The court does not care how much you love her, how much you've been good to her, and all the good things you've done for her. It is irrelevant. It has no value when it comes to getting access to your children. On the flip side, if you go in talking all these bad things about your ex, guess what? It makes you look like a controlling, abusive asshole. Remember, women are a protected class. Subconsciously, there's always an instinct to protect them. You probably have an instinct still to protect your ex. I know I did. I had that instinct. So when she was wrong, I still tried to cover up for her, which was a mistake. But I did. So we all have that instinct. But guess what? The judge has that instinct as well. There are some judges that are so biased that outright they believe, yeah, the man must be an abuser. They just believe it. So when you come in saying she did this and that and the other, you'll be seen as controlling. Your relationship with her is, for the most part, irrelevant to the children. If she argued with you, you also argued with her, right? So it went both ways. So you can't go and say, oh, she's very argumentative and so forth. You have to be really careful what you say in court. And I think the reason why fathers make this mistake is a lot of times you may not be aware of the language of the court, the way the court operates, what the reality is of the courtroom. Because not every reality of the outside world is applied in the courtroom, unfortunately. It's very sad. A lot of times, what you think would be common sense in the normal world, in the courtroom, is nonsense. So again, using the affairs example, if she has been having affairs that hurt you, the court does not care when it comes to dividing the time between you and the kids. The court literally does not care. You are not going to get closure through the court case. In reality, you need to find closure yourself, for yourself, by yourself, if you want to win. Because the more emotional you are, the more angry you are, again, that will be used against you in court. Like, I remember when I first started, I used to breathe so hard. I used to be like, because I was angry, right? Because I was hearing all these false allegations. I was hearing all these lies being said about me. And the lawyer is describing them as if she witnessed those things, as if she stood in the room and saw me doing the things that never happened, right? And I'm seeing the judge listening and so forth. That made me very angry. But unfortunately, that also made it credible that I could be an abusive person. So when I made the mistake of not letting go of the anger and the hurt. And again, it's not fair. That's why we said it's not a fair process. But you have to let go of it. It's going to take time. You may have to cry your eyes out when nobody's looking, right? This is not something you should do with people. This is something you should do by yourself. There are things you need help with, yes. But there is a time where you have to be alone, completely alone, and deal with these emotions. Specifically deal with these emotions. And then when you go to court, you're able to present a stronger case. So I've said this in another video specifically for this, but if you're talking to social workers or even the judge, you want to present factual situations, things that happen, things that can prove, things that have empirical value attached to them. So, for example, at 5 o'clock on Sunday, on 17th June, whatever, 2023, I came home from an extra shift at work, and the children were hungry and they were crying, and she was passed out drunk on the couch, right? That's the favorite example I like to use. It's made up, right? It's a made up example, so don't do the same thing. But I said the time, I said where, and so forth. And a neighbor had them crying and was looking through the window when I came through. So that's my witness, right? So that's clearly child neglect. You can say that in court. That's not smearing your ex, because it's actual event or an actual event that affected the children, and you can prove it. So because of that, it will be taken seriously. But if you say, I used to stay up all night when she would lock herself up in the bathroom and be talking to men on the phone, and she would drink. No, the court does not care about that. She'll just turn around and say she was scared of you, so she had to lock herself in the bathroom. What are they going to believe? with the bias that we have, she might get believed. And I'm not saying you always lose, because if you prepare, you increase your chances of winning, right? But you have to be ready for that. You have to be ready for that. So the point is, if she's a horrible person to you, that's one thing. If she's a horrible mother to the children, that's another. So again, you have to focus on how children are affected and be very careful with that. Because while she may get away with making you look bad, you won't get away with it. It's not a fair process. It's not a fair process. And we have to keep repeating it. It's not fair. However, if you come in very objective, very professional, when you are cross-examined, you speak clearly, you speak with facts, you have evidence, and so on and so forth. And then she tries to smear you. Now, you would create some contrast between the two of you. Right? So that increases the amount of time, that might help increase the amount of time you spend with your children. Right? Don't expect, because she's been horrible, that the court will just, hand the kids over to you. It takes a lot for the court to do that, a lot. And I've seen mothers being rude and disrespectful, and the court, even if they give the father more time, they don't really try to punish the mother or let her feel the consequences of her actions. The mothers don't really have to face the consequences, but you have to face the consequences of your actions. So don't go smearing the ex in court, right? You don't want to do that. Be factual, be objective, give specific evidence, and that will help your case. So the next mistake is kind of counterintuitive, because as men, we like to get things done. And I said some things we have to get done alone, right? But on the flip side, the next mistake is not getting enough help and support. Not getting enough help and support. Look, however you want to see it, winning in court is a team sport. You are going to need help, right? Even if you have a lawyer, you still need help. One of the first things I would do is to start looking for fathers groups. You may not like some of them, you may not enjoy the atmosphere, but hearing other stories, hearing tips, advice, just knowledge, opening your own eyes will help you win the case. So when you go online, there is content creators like Father X. Father X is great from, I'm not sure which state he's from. He won full custody. It took him, I think about 3 years. He won full custody. Yeah, he flipped the whole thing around, and he did it by representing himself, right? I also got rid of my lawyer at some point and started to represent myself. But he overcame the bias and was able to win full custody. So he creates a lot of great content on YouTube. Go check him out, Father X. There is Fathers Under Fire. So if you're familiar with school.com, look for Fathers Under Fire. It's a great group. There's a guy called Nathan. He's a very great guy. And he has a Facebook group as well, Fathers Under Fire. Check those out. You get lots of support, lots of advice, tips, and just, realize that you are not alone in this. Because as I said earlier, it's not a fair process, right? So you need all the support and insight you can get. And I'll come back to that in a moment. But also, you can click on the link below, of course, and go to bravefathers.com and get in touch with me. And just like I got a lot of help, which I'm about to share more about in a moment, you will get a free 1-hour consultation to help you strategize to win your case, because you will need a strategy. And because this is so emotional, it's so painful, it's very difficult to be objective. It's very difficult to really see what's happening, right? Because when you are in the middle of it, it's very difficult to have a clear mind. So I'm here for you. Click on the link below and get in touch, and I'll see how best I can help you. When I was in my case, when I started, look, here's what I did. I knew a lot of lawyers give free consultations. So I literally would go, and I did this in several towns, not just one place. Would start at one end of the street where there's lots of law firms. Usually when you go close to courtrooms, you find whole streets full of law firms. And I'll literally go into one, get a consultation, go into the next one, get a consultation, go to the next, and I kept doing it. Some it was over the phone, some it was in person. And I had to move around a lot when my whole situation started. When I go to the next town, same thing. So I got a lot of insights, because you'll be surprised, a lot of lawyers also lie. They lie because sometimes they don't want to take your case, or they don't want to be honest about the bias. For whatever reason, it doesn't matter. But I spoke to a lot of lawyers and got loads and loads and loads of advice. I remember one gentleman, an elderly gentleman, he was so kind. Like, he sat with me in the conference room of the law firm for free and just like gave me so much advice. And he actually was the one who was one of the few who actually told me that, look, even if she breaches the orders, she may not see any consequences for that. And fathers who are going through this know that sometimes she will stop you from seeing your kids even when there's an order, and sometimes nothing happens. There's nothing at all done about it, not even a slap on the wrist. So he told me about that. He told me about how people are hesitant to even arrest mothers sometimes. And I've seen this in real life, where I went to play pool in this place, and there was this group. I think there were two mothers and a guy was with them. They were in the wrong. They wanted to kick us out, right? The security. But then they reviewed the footage and they realized it was them who was wrong. But guess what? They didn't do anything. And later the security guy came to me. He was like, oh, we don't really like throwing mothers out with their kids, blah, blah, blah. So I was so angry. I didn't even say anything to him, so you were ready to kick me out. But when they are wrong, you are allowing them to stay because you don't like doing it. But that just shows you how the society thinks as a whole. So when you get help and support, it helps you deal with those things, right? It helps you deal with those things, and you are aware of the specific traps that are relevant to your case. So it's just like I did. I got lots of free consultations. If you can, get those consultations. Don't be too proud because you are fighting for your kids. Don't think you are above all that, right? When you go to fathers groups, you get emotional support as well. There may be things going on, you don't know what to do. Some fathers feel like ending their lives. It's very common, some do. So you need people around you. And here is the worst part, which happened to me as well. Once the false allegations start flowing, once the false allegations start hitting you, a lot of people will betray you. Because it happened to me, and it's happened to many fathers. People you've known for years, decades before you even met your ex, could betray you. Your family could betray you, right? In my family, many believed the allegations or acted like they believed. They didn't want to hear my side of the story. She really literally got to them, right? So I don't want to reveal too much out of the respect for the children. But there was a lot of backstabbing going on. There was a lot. So when you are in that position, you need help. You need people to support you. You need people who are going through something similar who will have your back. Check if there is a fathers group where you live. Go for a couple of meetings, right? But also do things that are fun for you. A lot of fathers start withdrawing from the world, but you can't do that. You have to be psychologically prepared. It takes a lot to win in family court, a lot more than you realize. And one thing that people don't understand is that you are going against the state, because the power of the state is used as a pressure point to get the outcome that the court believes is the best for the children. So you're not even fighting your ex, even though you think you are. You are literally fighting with the state and the bias that is against you. So whichever country you live in, remember, the judiciary is an arm of the government. And they are predisposed to be against you. Right? And this is not a conspiracy theory. You know this because you've seen it. You are the one who's trying to see your kids, and nobody really cares. Like, if you think about it, society does not really care that fathers don't have access to their children. And whilst I understand that there are abusive men, people don't take also abusive women seriously. Right? It's not, I know there's this gender war online, but that's just foolishness, because in reality, it's not really men versus women, because we both want each other and we both need each other. Right? But the state itself has got laws to protect women and children. And we hear about it all the time in the news and elsewhere. So what you are fighting is way bigger than you. You need help to understand how to maneuver. Don't underestimate this part. And lots of fathers are too proud to do this. But look, you have to. I was going for counseling. I had a great counselor. She was great. She was really good. Like, I don't even know how I got through this, or how I would have gotten through this if it wasn't for her. In fact, I have to find her at some point and say thank you to her after all this. I have to say thank you to her after all this, because she really listened. She acknowledged the bias. She acknowledged that a lot of things were unfair. And it was really from her heart, right? She wasn't like trying to pander to me or anything like that. Where she thought I could rethink things, she would tell me as well. So that was very helpful. Going to father groups meetings, right? That also helped a lot. So hearing other fathers, getting tips, getting advice, getting insights, seeing, frankly, some of the fathers that you'll be like, okay, I can see why they don't want him to see the kids. But then you realize, oh, I might behave in a similar way. So you're like, okay, let me change this behavior, and so on and so forth. Because let's be fair, some parents are not good parents, right? It could be a mother, it could be a father. Let's just be honest here. I don't subscribe to this whole gender war thing. I'm not against mothers. I'm not against mothers. I'm not against women. I help fathers because fathers need help. But I understand that sometimes the mother might be in the right? So that's the truth. That's the reality. So the point here is I got help. And I kept getting help, and I was asking for help, and I spoke to everybody. And that's when I started getting outcomes that people were surprised, like, how were you able to get this and that? And people sometimes tell me I'm lucky. They don't know what I went through to get it. I'm not lucky. I actually fought. I actually accepted that it was going to be unfair. I knew it was going to be unfair. So I acted accordingly. So if I know they've got 10 arguments against me, I'll look for 100 arguments. So whatever they come at me with, I was prepared. It takes a lot of work. But the bottom line here is get people to help you. Don't be too proud, and then help yourself. Spend time by yourself, working through your case, and prepare it. Which brings me to the last big mistake, which is waiting till it's too late. Fathers make this mistake and they really don't understand what they're doing. Here's what I mean. You may have a court date, say a trial, in 3 months, 5 months, a month, whatever, a year in some cases. And a lot of fathers just wait for the date to come. And then a few weeks before, or a few days before, sometimes on the day, They spend some time with their lawyer going through the stuff they documented and the parenting plan and so forth, and they go into the courtroom. And they are surprised when they lose. Your preparation has to start right now. The only way you get the best outcome, the only way, is if you spend time every day preparing. And when I say preparing, I don't mean ask ChatGPT what to do. I mean actually yourself do the heavy lifting, print out some case law that is relevant to your situation. In the beginning, anything you read will actually help because it will start opening your eyes to how the court operates. And read it. Don't look for the summary of it. Actually read it. Get used to the lingo. Get used to the atmosphere of the court. In fact, you might want to go and listen to some other civil hearings that are open to the public and just get a general feel for how things work. You must do that if you are to win your case. You have to dedicate time to winning. Get some books on law. You know, when I started, I got some textbooks that students use, and I paid for actual books that judges use and lawyers use in court. I actually started studying the law on my own to understand it. Because even if you have a lawyer, remember, nobody knows all the law. That's why we have appeals. One of the reasons why we have appeals, because a judge may not be aware of a law or may apply a law incorrectly to your case. So then you and your lawyer say, no, the judge was wrong about this, and you appeal and potentially win, right? So when I got my shared live with order, I actually had to appeal. But I was prepared ahead of time. You know, I'm not allowed to reveal all the details, but I knew I was going to appeal before I even went to court. Because I could see, based on what I was studying, some of the common mistakes that people ignore in court. And I prepared for them. So it takes a lot of strategy, a lot of thinking, emotional preparation as well. You have to allow yourself to process the emotions, and a lot of fathers do it the wrong way. I don't know how else to put it. You have to spend alone time. No phone, no TV, no games, no nothing. Just you, your God, and maybe a piece of paper and a pen. That's it. If you are reading a book on law, then that book, if that's what you're doing. But for emotional preparation, you have to be by yourself. You have to realize that nobody is coming to save you, that everything could crumble down in any moment. You have to see the weaknesses in your case. A lot of fathers don't think, okay, what could be the weaknesses of my case? What are the weaknesses in your case? When I do when I give you a free consultation, that's what I also try to look at, like, what are your weaknesses? So that the weaknesses don't get exposed in court. You want to see those weaknesses before you get to court, right? You want to see those weaknesses before you get to court and resolve them, deal with them, so that you have a stronger case by the time you get to court. Because no matter how prepared you are, there will always be still some kind of surprise attack against you from your ex, because it's usually going to be some kind of lie that is truthful enough to be believed. So maybe 90% of it is true and the 10% is a lie, but it just looks like everything is true, and it's very difficult to convince the judge in such situations, and that's part of the fighting. So you want to cover everything you can before you get to court that you can anticipate, and then when you get into court, when there are things that you didn't anticipate, you will be in position to resolve them, right? So don't wait till it's too late. If you need help, which you do, click on the link below, get in touch. Go to your local fathers group. Go to some of the groups I have mentioned. Check out some of the content of the other fathers who have gone through this and been successful. Check out that content. You see, because your children need you, and the only way they can have access to you is if you are prepared ahead of time. So let's quickly go over these mistakes again, right? And I'll add a few things to what we've said already. So the first mistake is expecting a fair process. There isn't a fair process. It's not like in the movies. There is a lot of bias against men that you have to deal with, that you have to be aware of, and that will affect your case. It's real. You can't change it. It's there. So you're going to have to adjust yourself emotionally so that you know how to counter that issue, how to mitigate that issue, and how to be ready for anything that may be thrown at you. So the second mistake is underestimating the effects of false allegations. So a lot of fathers underestimate the power and the effects of false allegations. So as I've mentioned earlier, false allegations have to be taken seriously depending on your jurisdiction where you live. They may actually, if proven, eliminate any possibility of you having full custody or even 50-50, or having a say in your children's lives. You may be giving some visitation, you may be giving supervised visitation. It all depends on what the judge decides and your case, and of course how you fight for it. But don't underestimate the power and effects of false allegations, and don't think your case is going to be different. If I'm wrong, at least you'll be prepared, and I'm not wrong. So you need to be prepared. When I, work with fathers, and I've helped some fathers who have had serious allegations made against them, but you're always on your back foot. You're always struggling in those cases. It's very difficult, and it's powerful leverage against you in court. So take false allegations seriously. Even if the allegations are yet not in, you don't know what she's going to say, as long as you know that she's stopping you from seeing your kids, trust and believe that the false allegations will come, and prepare for them. So don't make that mistake. On the other hand, the third mistake is don't go to court smearing your ex. Don't think that you make her look like a horrible person and that you will gain some kind of advantage in court that way. You will not. You will not. All you do is make yourself look as a controlling and an abusive person. If she has done some horrible things that affect the children, remember they have to affect the children, those things, then provide good evidence, provide important information, specific information, so date, time, place. If you have reliable witnesses, you provide that. But it has to be about the children. If she cheated on you and so forth, nobody cares, unfortunately. Unfortunately, that's one of those sad things in life where you have to deal with on your own or with people who, care about you, like those in the fathers groups. But ultimately, nobody is coming to save you, because nobody can save you. You have to do this yourself. So don't underestimate the false allegations, and don't go smearing your ex. The judge will not listen to you and say, oh, wow, she was this horrible. No. She can't have the kids. You get them now. No, that's not going to happen. What will happen is her lawyer will say, you see how much acrimony there is coming from you, how much hatred and jealousy and just abusive control that's coming from you. And this is an example, and you will lose. Focus on the children. Don't go smearing your ex. Now, don't make the mistake of thinking that because nobody is coming to save you that you don't need help, right? It's because nobody comes to save you, you need help. So don't make the mistake of not getting help. You get a little bit of help here, you get some help here, you get some help there, you get some help there. And before you know it, you have more ability to win your case and to fight for your children. I did it, you should do it too. Therapists are tricky, right? So some are good, many are horrible, many are biased as well. They'll bullshit you. That's the truth these days. By the way, check out Hannah Spear on YouTube. She has a channel called Psychobabble. Brilliant stuff that will go into this kind of dynamics between abusive women and men and things like that. But get all the help you can get. Don't be too proud because you're fighting for your kids. This is not something you can win alone. You need a team. If you've got a lawyer, great. That's not enough. If all it took was a lawyer, you wouldn't be here. If all it took was a lawyer, you wouldn't need, any information. You just have your lawyer help you, and then that would be it. And you just win. Everybody with a lawyer would just win. But if you remember, even Kanye West, with all his hundreds of millions, and I remember he was a billionaire at one point, I don't know if he still is, or again, he still had to fight for his kids, right? And don't underestimate this process. Get the help. And the last mistake is waiting till it's too late. Don't wait till it's too late. Start preparing today. The best resource I know to start is to click on the link below and get a free consultation so you can strategize on what to do, right? You need to have those insights. Speak to your lawyer, speak to as many lawyers as you can. Like I said, I spoke to many lawyers to get help. Now, here is something I want to add before we end for today. We have fathers groups for fathers who can't get access to their children. And then you find them all over the world, and they have thousands and thousands and thousands, if not hundreds of thousands, if not millions of men, millions of fathers, and millions of children who don't have relationships with their fathers, which is sad. And people say there's no bias, right? But then how come we don't have so many mothers groups who can't see their children? Some would argue, it's because the fathers are abusive. And some people believe that. But I would say it's just a reflection of how society views men. So before we go, I want you to also reconsider how you view yourself as a man, because that will affect your psychological state when you go into the courtroom. My contention is men undervalue themselves. Men really undervalue themselves. They don't see masculinity and being a man as valuable, being a father or a husband. They think protecting and providing, that's all it is, but that's not what it is, because those things are external. They're outside of you. When women say they don't need a man, of course they don't need any specific man to provide for them in this society. They don't need any specific man to protect them, right? They have a system around them. So men and women wrongly think that that's all that men provide. But that's not true. So I want you to think about it, right? So I'm going to end this here for today. If you have any questions, get in touch. Click on the link below to go to bravefathers.com and get in touch. Subscribe to me if you're not subscribed. Give me some likes. Yes, like my stuff. And go ahead and win your case. Go through the mistakes again. Make sure you don't make those mistakes. Prepare for your case, and I will see you soon. And I wish you all the best. All the best. This is John Paul from bravefathers.com, and I'm going to sign